Since everyone agree na i-record yung class natin, and so i-record na natin yung class natin. Again, I'll be turning off my camera for now. Later, i-open ko din yan. Okay? So, start na tayo nung klase natin. So, kung wala pa yung iba, ganun talaga. We have to start on time. Okay. I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay. So, last time, nung nag-meet tayo, I discussed yung instructional materials, the orientation of our class, the e-commerce, and so our class for today or your elective 2 will be e-commerce. So this is your instructional materials. Of course, you have already a copy of this one. Okay. So the grading system was also discussed sa inyo last time. And of course, the table of contents, kung ano ba yung components or content of our elective 2. Okay. So we start with, of course, the introduction to e-commerce. And so the learning outcomes of introduction to e-commerce will be the after successful completion of this lesson, you should be able to analyze the impact of e-commerce on business models and strategy, describe major types of e-commerce, and also explain the process that should be followed in building an e-commerce presence and identify the key security threats in the e-commerce environment. Okay. So let's have first the introduction. So e-commerce means using the internet and the web for business transactions and or commercial transactions, which typically involve the exchange of value. Example is money across organizational or individual boundaries in return for products and services. Here we focus on digitally enabled commercial transactions among organizations and individuals. So when we say e-commerce, basically it's a combination of internet and the web plus business and also the exchange of value. That's why pag sinabi nating e-commerce, ang laging pumapasok sa isip natin pag sinabi nating e-commerce ay bentahan ng products and services, tapos naka-online. Okay, that is what we call the e-commerce. Okay, and also under the e-commerce, we have what we call the e-business application. So e-business is an application turns into a e-commerce precisely. So when an exchange of value occurs, digitally enabled transactions include all transactions mediated by digital technology and platform. That's why ngayon we have Shopee, we also have yung mga Lazada. But before that, ano ba yung mga platform that we have? Yun kumbaga, ano pa yung mga sikat na platform before that? We have yung tinatawag nating Metro Deal na naka-website, okay? And other transactions na meron tayo, okay? Which actually we use for rendering services and goods, okay? Or services and products, okay? Always remember na magkaiba yung products and dun sa services. Pag sinabi nating products, you have an output. Pag sinabi nating services, that is yung services that you can provide. So, for example, gagawa ka ng isang website. Okay? Okay? Uh, Halimbawa, tutulong ka sa ganito, magbi-build ka ng ganito, that is services. Pag products naman, you have an output. So halimbawa, magbebenta ka through e-commerce ng cellphone, okay, magbebenta ka ng mga SSD, hard disk drive, flash drive. So those are examples of products and also the examples of services that we have. Of course, we also have the history of e-commerce. Okay. So the history of e-commerce begins with the invention of telephone and at the end of last century. So EDI o yung tinatawag nating electronic data interchange is widely viewed as the beginning of e-commerce. Okay? If we consider e-commerce as networking of business communities and digitalization of business information. So large organizations have been investing in development of EDI since 60s. Okay. So dun pa lang makikita na natin yung e-commerce. But of course, before the ano tawag dito, the beginning of the e-commerce, of course, nag-umpisa tayo muna dun sa mga computer, the networking or yung networking na anong tawag dito, yung alam natin ngayon, yung halimbawa, yung mga uno-uno, ganyan. Okay, those are networking na familiar noon hanggang sa bumalik lang. Kumbaga para history repeat itself. Kasi lagi naman gano'n, eh. 'Di ba, lagi naman gano'n yung trend. Babalik at babalik or ikot na ikot lang tayo hanggang sa mag-evolve, okay? Or mag-digitize tayo. So, parang sa cellphone din, 'di ba? We started with a big cellphone, lumiit, hanggang sa ngayon palakihan na ulit. Ta's paliitan na naman. Dati uso din yung fold, biglang nawala. Ta's ngayon meron namang bagong folding na phone, defold na phone, yun na naman yung kinukuha nila. So, laging paulit-ulit lang. Depende lang talaga kung kailan papasok yung e-commerce. Plus, of course, yung other internet services that will allow yung pag-boom ng panibagong products and services. Kasi lagi naman ganun eh. Uh, ang napapansin lang natin is nagkakaroon tayo ng advancement of technology. Okay, nag improve lahat. But the physical appearance of meron tayo plus the services na binibigay when it comes to services paulit-ulit lang. Nag-i-improve lang na nag-i-improve, okey? Katulad ng mga sabi ko nga yung mga cellphone na yan, the websites. Dati hindi uso yung mga may gumagalaw-galaw, ganyan-ganyan. Yung mga marquee tinanggal na yan, mga ganyan-ganyan. Ngayon binalik. I mean, binalik in creating your site. Dati hindi maganda yung meron kang live video, ngayon gamit na gamit sa mga online sabong, online selling. So, kapag may website ka, nagpa-create ka ng website ta's you are into e-commerce, of course you must have your mga live na ganyan, okey? That's why naging effective siya ngayon. Eh, dati hindi ka puwedeng mag-live kasi masyadong babagal yung bandwidth mo, ganyan-ganyan. Yung bandwidth na kinuha natin from our web web host or yung web server natin, hindi gano'n kataas. Okay? So, gano'n yung nangyayari. Okay, so originally, so electronic e-commerce meant the facilitation of commercial transactions electronically. Using technology such as electronic data interchange and electronic funds transfer. So these are both introduced in late 1970s. Okay? So let's move on to the online shopping. So an important component of electronic commerce was invented by Michael Aldrich in the UK in 1979. Okay, so papansin natin mga early 1980s lang talaga tayo nagkaroon, no? But of course, hindi pa rin siya yung totally accepted. Kumbaga, hindi pa siya tinatanggap ng buong mundo. Parang sa atin ngayon, di ba? Uh, ang alam natin, okay na tayo when it comes to e-commerce. But kailan lang ba talaga nag-boom ang e-commerce natin, 'di ba? 'Di ba ang e-commerce natin eh nag-boom lang naman talaga during this pandemic. Kumbaga kahit naman tayo eh we don't trust the system. Paano we don't trust the system? Kasi most of the time kasi ang nangyayari kasi is that uh, we have a e-commerce pwede natin ginagamit kasi nga andiyan yung scam na nagkakaproblema sa credit card, nagkakaproblema sa debit card. Of course, that is your personal information and takot ka na mawala yun kasi digitally nagawa yun, so digitally puwede rin siya makuha, okey? Nangyari lang na nag-iba lahat simula nung nagkaroon ng pandemic kasi you don't have choice, 'di ba? Hindi ka puwedeng lumabas, okey? Mga essentials lang yung puwedeng lumabas, so ang ginagawa mo last year is magpapa-deliver ka ng ganito or kung minsan man, eh, hindi ka na nga magpapa-deliver pero pupunta ka lang. But cashless transactions or, walang physical approach na nangyayari, 'di ba? Dati magbabayad ka sa ganito, ngayon gagamit ka na ng GCash, kaya yung GCash gamit na gamit, eh, 'di ba? 'Pag namamasko yung mga inaanak mo hindi na through physical, eh, 'di ba? GCash na, Facebook na, or anything na platform that you can use to interchange, okay? And of course, from the 1990s onwards, electronics commerce would additionally include enterprise resource planning systems or ERP. Okay? Data mining and data warehousing. Okay? Ito yung isa sa actually na gusto ko sanang matutunan nyo. However, kahit sino naman, hindi nila totally nagbibigay yung ERP o yung enterprise resource planning kasi ang ang mga system kasi when it comes to ERP is medyo mahal. So one of the examples of ERP is yung or and data mining and data warehousing is what we call the SAP or SAP. Okay? And most of the time, yung SAP dapat is also dinidiscuss sa mga accounting students, the IT. Ayan. Kaya lang, the rights to use that SAP is sobrang mahal, the SAP Business One. Okay? Sobrang mahal na kahit na ibang schools, eh hindi naman nila magamit in using the SAP. Okay? So, nagagamit na lang 'pag nasa industry. However, since you are an IT, of course madali na lang sa inyo. Why? Kasi hindi naman siya totally on coding, eh, 'pag sinabi nating SAP or SAP Business One. It's more on logical. And sabi nga nila 'di ba, today is 2021. Sabi nila 2025, 2030, it's not about the code, it's about the logic na. Kumbaga, kahit na gaano ka kagaling mag-code, if you don't understand the logic, you cannot create the system. Kasi ngayon ang nangyayari, kinakalimutan na natin yung codes. Bakit? Kasi ginagawa na yung codes. Ang ginagawa na lang natin is to apply the code. Isipin mo, yung pagpapagalaw ng robotics noon, ang ginagawa natin is, anong tawag dito? Kino-code pa natin isa-isa, di ba? Ngayon, hindi na, dina-drag and drop mo na lang yung code. Lagay mo, forward, reverse, left, 180 or 360 degrees, so on and so forth. Ganun na yung nangyayari. Sir, paano yun? Actually, kailan ko lang nalaman na pwede na pala yun. Na pag sinabing robotics, hindi na siya totally coding. It's more on drag and drop na yung nangyayari. So, ganun din sa programming. Siguro darating din yung time sa atin na ang program is dinadrag mo na lang yung program. Hindi mo na siya pinoprogram totally. Kumbaga, logically, iniisip mo na lang kung paano mo ba siya ipaparan. So, kumbaga, sa dami-dami ng meron ka, paano natin siya iraran? Wait lang, may nag-chat na. Like sa Lego, sir. Oh, yes, that's right. Oo. Kasama rin yung example na yun. Ayun lang. So, try to understand na when we say e-commerce, this is actually, or pag sinabi ng e-commerce, hindi lang yung bili, bayad, yan. There's a bigger picture when we say e-commerce. There are a lot of things that you have to understand when we say e-commerce. That's why pinasok ko to sa elective 2. Plus, of course, this is a continuation ng web development niya. Para at least, aside from the PHP, ganyan, since you have an idea sa PHP, at least you will have an idea when it comes to, anong tawag dito? Sa content management system. Kasi having the knowledge of content management system is actually an advantage or a plus when it comes to applying to being a web developer. If you were to ask her, bakit hindi na lang tayo ng iba, ganyan, ganyan. Of course, this is an elective. Most of the time, ang pinipili kong elective is yung kumbaga maiko-connecta or maipe-prerequisite natin doon sa mga subjects na nakuha natin or pwede nating makuha in the future. Okay? And I'm hoping na dun sa ibang class nyo, like for example, if you have your mobile development, you will understand or will be able to know how to create and how to develop a mobile application. Okay, wait lang ha. Paunti-unti kasi nang pumapasok eh. Kaya ako nag-umpisa minsan ng maaga. Okay. Okay, so although the internet became popular worldwide around 1994 when the first internet online shopping started, it took about 5 years to introduce security protocols in DSL, allowing to continual connection to the internet by the end of 2000. Many European and American business associate word e-commerce with the ability of purchasing various goods through the internet and using secure protocols and electronic payment services. So, kaya nga nasabi natin, kahit na nakilala na or alam na natin, dun lang siya na-recognize. So, mga around 2000s. However, hindi pa rin totally nagamit. Okay? Unlike ng sa ibang bansa na, of course, napaka-useful sa kanila. Sa atin, laging Shopee, Lazada, pero noon pa man sa kanila, meron na silang Amazon. Okay? And some other countries, meron na silang Amazon na bumibili sila ng online. So, isipin mo, If that is around 2,000 meron silang Amazon tapos tayo ngayon pa lang, 'di ba? Napakatagal nung advancement of technology, evolvement natin or let's say trust sa e-commerce or sa internet or through information technology, 'di ba? Sobrang sobrang tagal. Okay? That's why we are here not only to learn but also to ang tawag dito, to share the knowledge na hindi dapat ganito. Dapat ganito na yung ginagawa natin, ganyan, ganyan. Okay? Yun yung mga tatandaan natin, 'no? Kasi minsan, ah, akala natin, anong tawag dito, hindi useful or, ah, not trustworthy, ganyan, ganyan. Pero in fact mas secure pa pala sila, something like that. Okay, so we are in the IT field, so kapag kaya natin i-explain sa iba, i-explain natin. Okay. And of course, we are not also or we're also vulnerable when it comes to the problem of e-commerce, di ba? Yung mga nagkakaroon ng, nagbigay ng link na halimbawa sa email, tapos iba pala yung link pero kaparehas na parehas yung format na ginamit for BPI, BDO, ganyan, ganyan. Kailangan lang maging mas masusi tayo sa gano'n, 'di ba? Magtaka ka 'pag halimbawa in-email ka ng BPI ta's wala ka naman palang BPI account, 'di ba? Ignore mo na lang 'yan, gano'n lang 'yun. Okay, on the internet and the web, so, the internet was conceived in 1969 when the Advanced Research Projects Agency funded research of computer networking. Okay, so yun lang naman yun. The web became a popular mainstream medium perceived as fourth mainstream medium in addition to print, radio, and TV. So in a speed which had been seen before. So the web users and content were almost doubled every couple of months in 1995 and 1996. Kasi dito naman talaga sila nag-boom 95 and 96. How would I know? Kasi this is also the year na natutunan ko paano gumamit ng computer. Okay. Hindi naman mismo yung paano gumamit na nagpo-program na. Of course, tinuturuan ka pa lang, eh, okey. So, e-commerce meaning. So, the term electronic commerce or e-commerce refers to any sort of business transaction that involves transfer of information through the internet. Okay, so ayun lang 'yan. Exchange of money, or exchange of money for products and services, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the e-commerce for us. So, what are the objectives of e-commerce? So, various objectives of e-commerce can be laid down as follows. Number one, development of business relationship. So, the business development can be done through the e-commerce being the primary and the basic object as their direct contact in between the company and the consumer. So, you're building relationship with the business and the consumer. Okay, that's why one of the objective is development of business relationship. Okay. Parang sa mga Shopee-Shopee natin, 'di ba? We're building relationship doon sa pinagbilhan natin. Yung tipong, okay, okay pala 'to, so hindi mo na ako magta-try or sometimes naman, can I try this relationship to other, companies as a consumer or as a, business owner, try ko kaya 'tong consumer na 'to? Can I check the the anong tawag dito, the consumer na ito? Kumbaga, kung dati nandito ka sa middle class chine-check. What if mas itaas ko kaya, ano kaya mangyayari with the relationship of the company plus the consumer? Of course, we have your better customer service. So all it's done around the clock, the customer always have online help regarding the product. So pag sinabi natin or let's say better customer service, of course we are pertaining to the service or after sales na service mo. So or let's say kahit pa yung bago, eh, 'di ba? Yung tipong may magtatanong sa'yo. Okay, you can actually answer it directly before they go. Sarado ba kayo sa ganito? Bukas ba kayo ng ganito? Meron ba kayong product na ganito? Kasi baka mamaya pagpunta ko wala. So, yung mga questions na pwede nating ibigay nandun pa rin. But also, that's also part of, building a business relationship. Kasi, kapag nakakakuha ka kasi ng a good customer service, of course, magiging good din yung impact sa business mo. And also, magiging good yung impact nun for your consumers. Getting more customers, of course, that's one of the objective of e-commerce. Hindi naman tayo magpupunta ng e-commerce kung hindi tayo kukuha ng mas maraming customers, di ba? Kasi if marketing-wise, kung ang habol mo is the anong tawag dito? Yung nasa within your boundaries lang. Halimbawa, your barangay, your municipality, or your city. Ayan. Of course, you can get more customers kapag online na po yung ginamit natin. Hindi pwedeng hindi pwedeng kaya ka nag-e-commerce kasi gusto mo lang magkaroon ng e-commerce, gusto ng website, gusto mo lang magkaroon ng e-site, ganun. Hindi. We have e-commerce kasi we want to get more customers. That's actually the reason kaya tayo merong e-commerce. Next, important features of e-commerce. So, e-commerce has pertained key features which are explained as follows. So, ito yung mga features na, no? E-commerce is technology enabled. So, this is yung, anong tawag dito? Definition. So, traditional commerce is taking place since times immemorial, but e-commerce is a result of integration of digital technology. Or let's say, pag sinabi natin e-commerce is technology enabled, of course, that corresponds to using of technology from both ends of the the commerce. So, meron tayong consumers, meron tayong company, or yung vice versa. That's why this is what we call the technology enabled. And of course, technology mediated. Admit it or not, if you don't have technology, you cannot do the e-commerce. That's why sabi nga nila, paano yung mga walang walang pang walang technology for e-commerce. That's actually one of the problem. Kasi since hindi naman ini-introduce sa atin totally na napaka-importante ng e-commerce. Ayan, actually naman yung isa sa problema di ba? We are not anong tawag dito? Knowledgeable totally when it comes to e-commerce. Ang alam lang natin e-commerce, bibili ganyan, Shopee, Lazada, but we are not aware of the security, paano ba yung security nito, paano ba yung ganito, paano ba magkakaroon ng problema, paano tayo makakaiwas, so on and so forth. So, yun yung mga nagiging problema. Plus, the factor na hindi lahat gumagamit. Ba't ako magaganyan matanda na ako, ganyan. 'Di ba? Kaya lang ngayong excuse me. Ngayon kasi ang nangyayari, para makasabay ka, you have to know. You have to know everything. Kasi ibang generation na talaga ibang-iba na. Kumbaga 'pag 'di mo alam 'to, baka puwedeng maiwanan ka, okay? Next, we also have yung universality, okay? Of course, when we use universality or e-commerce is actually one of the features is yung universalities nga. Kasi once you installed an app na e-commerce, once na meron kang website na e-commerce, that is open across the the World Wide Web. So kahit sino pwedeng mag-access doon. That's why meron siyang universality. Of course, the intercommunication. Okay, that is actually explained earlier when it comes to the objective, yung a better customer service. Of course, that corresponds to intercommunication. Of course, the delivery of information. Sir, wala na po kaming stocks ng ganito or dun mismo sa site, since yung site is merong halimbawa inventory, hindi ka na pwedeng bumili, nakalagay out of stock na. Okay? Or wala na yung service na yun kasi umalis na yung nagpo-provide ng service na yun. So dun pa lang, napakabilis na ng delivery of information for both consumers and the company. Of course, kung nakikita niyong out of stock yun, of course, nakikita na rin ng company. So, electronic completion of business processes. Ayan. So, by using e-commerce, we can perform business transactions like accounting and inventory through computers at global level. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina na SAP or yung SAP na tinatawag natin, SAP Business One. Okay? You can do transactions like accounting, inventory through computers at global level. Okay. And of course, marami nang gumagamit nun, but marami pa rin hindi nakakagamit kasi medyo mahal. But most of the time, that is for small and medium enterprises or SMEs, the sub-business one. So we also have yung virtual communities. Our online communities created by means such as chat rooms and specifically designated sites like where people can interact with each other or having common interests using the internet. Okay, so kaya sobrang galing nung Facebook eh. 'Di ba? Parang halos lahat ng aspects meron na sila. Esports, they also have communities for e-commerce, they also have communities for gamers, they also have communities for ah, anong tawag dito, marketer. So, napakarami, okey. Kaya hin kaya yung Facebook hindi mo makita kung kailan mag-e-end, eh. Unlike nung Friendster nun na ito na lang paulit-ulit, ilang taon na, ganyan, ganyan, okey. But of course, at the end of the day, you have to know that Facebook is a social networking site. Hindi talaga siya totally for e-commerce, ganyan, ganyan. Kaya lang since napaghandaan na siguro talaga ng Facebook yung mga mangyayari, kaya pinasok na nila yon. They have games, e-commerce, lahat. Pati nga yung concept of having the YouTube na meron kang subscribers tapos, automatically magkakaroon ka ng commission kapag nakaganito kang subscribers, nakaganito kang oras. Sa Facebook, 'di ba, you can send stars, 'di ba? Ang galing ta's nakipag-partner pa siya sa Google for payment, something na gano'n. Kaya kung anong tawag dito, kung ikaw isang IT mabibilib ka talaga plus of course may halo na rin na, ay napakasimple nung ginawa but tignan mo naman yung impact, 'di ba? Akalain mo 'yan gagawa kang payment ganyan, ganyan. Tapos since ang laki na nung network mo, ang laki na nung magiging consumer, customer or let's say network mo nga or tao na nandoon sa Facebook, wala hindi maiiwasan mag-send ng star. Isipin mo sikat, shoutout ka, "Shoutout nga pala kay Sir Migs, ayan nanonood ng Dota 2," gano'n, gano'n, 'di ba? Salamat sa pag-send ng stars. 'Di ba babanggitin ka ng artista, gano'n. Eh, di parang napakasuwerte mo naman dun sa part na yun, 'di ba? Of course, we have yung, interdisciplinary in nature, okay? Implementation of e-commerce needs a lot of knowledge of managerial, technological, social, and legal issues, okay? Besides this, understanding consumer behavior, marketing tools, and financial aspects is as crucial as designing interactive e-commerce website. Okay. Yung sinasabi nilang interdisciplinary nature, this is the nature of the internet and of course the consumer and the company. Of course, you have to take into consideration the different aspects that we have katulad nga ng social and legal issues, okay? Technologically, economically, and technically. So lahat ng 'yun, you have to check on the different natures. And of course, the customization. So with the use of e-commerce technology, the world is moving from mass production to mass customization. Kung sinabi nating mass customization is, katulad nga ng sinasabi ko sa inyo sa business one, no? You have here the platform, but if you want to change it into your ways and means or kung ano man yung gusto mo, okay, or on what you really want, you can customize it. Sabihin mo lang na ganito or you can hire an IT na, "Puwede bang ganito, ganyan, ganyan?" Yes, you can do that. Okay. So that is what we call the customization. You can change the anong tawag dito, the medium na ginagamit nyo with the consumer and the companies. Okay. Kaya nga sabi 'di ba, moving from mass production to mass customization. It's not about mass production na, it's mass customization na talaga. Kasi you want to create something na customized for your company. Hindi yung bibili ka tapos hindi pala applicable para sa'yo. Okay, halimbawa sa Jollibee ka, ganito yung ganito sa'yo, "No, ayoko niyan, gusto ko eto." Gusto ko kahit na ganyan yung design, at least magkaiba kami ni McDo when it comes doon sa mga cashier or dun sa, anong tawag dito, sa ginagamit nila when it comes to cash registry. Okay. So, we also have yung tinatawag nating types of, e-commerce. So, major different types of e-commerce are business to business. So, business to business or B2B refers to e-commerce activities between businesses. Halimbawa, nakikipag-e-commerce ka, so 'pag sinabi natin business to business, of course, that's under a halimbawa, a company from one company to another company, pero not directly na kayo lang yung business. Okay, sometimes sorry, excuse me. Halimbawa, business to business na halimbawa sa SM, you're the one you are yung company, halimbawa, the SM hypermarket. Ikaw yung company, pero or the business, but there are also different business na pumapasok sa'yo. Sino-sino? The sugar companies, the sugar businesses, okay? Sino-sino ba 'yon? Victoria, Prince. So, there are a lot of, anong tawag dito, brands na meron tayo or other business companies na papasok at papasok sa'yo. So, 'yun yung maganda sa ano, actually sa hypermarket, eh. Why? Kasi they're getting anong tawag dito, the product na pinapadala lang sa kanila. I mean, kung titignan mo, that's an advantage sa kanila kasi parang sila lang yung magiging portal ng lahat ng products. Kumbaga, kung gusto mong kumita, eh, di dalhin mo sa'min. 'Pag ayaw mong kumita, o di 'wag, papalitan ka namin ng ibang brand, 'di ba? Kaya kung papansin mo, kung pupunta ka sa isang hypermarket, ganyan-ganyan, or sa isang store, most of the time, ilan lang yung brand na meron, 3, 4. Tapos kapag meron ng ganito, hindi na sila magtatayo ng ganito, okey? Halimbawa sa mga noodles, ganyan, instant noodles, kung makikita niyo, iilan lang talaga yung meron. Kung meron mang iba, pupunta na halimbawa, yung mga products na galing Japan, ganyan, nakalagay na yun sa mga international, eh. Hindi na siya nakalagay dun sa mismo nakikita ng tao, okey? Naka-separate siya as international, okey? So, that's how the business works. Of course, hindi natin pag-uusapan yun, but that is actually the concept of having business-to-business e-commerce. So, in e-commerce, B2B transactions are usually carried out through electronic data interchange, of course. For example, manufacturers from wholesalers are B2B companies. Ayan, ayun na nga in-explain natin. Next, we have yung business to consumer. So, refers to e-commerce activities that are focused on consumers rather than on businesses. Ito na yung mga Lazada, ano natin, anong tawag dito? Lazada, ayan, Amazon.com, okay? So, basically, you are the one who are purchasing. So, business to consumer. But also, we have yung consumer to consumer. Customer to customer or C2C refers to e-commerce activities which uses an auction style model. Okay, enables customers to directly deal with each other. An example is a pure auction or giant or yung eBay. Sa atin, ano ba yung sikat ngayon? Hindi eBay eh. Ano nga ba yan? Iba-iba kasi yun eh. Yung nagbebenta ka ng mga nagamit mo na, 'pag di mo na ginagamit, benta mo na yan. Nakalimutan ko ano yung tawag dun, but ganun yung nagiging concept. You are yung consumer tapos consumer or customer to customer, sila na lang nag-uusap tapos if they have a deal, ganun na yung ginagawa nila. Di mo yung example, eBay, pero sa atin ano ba yan? Ano bang meron sa atin yan?
OLX,
Carousel.
OLX.
Oh, ayan, OLX. Ano
Carousel.
pa? Groups, carousel. Oh, ayan, buy and sell. Yes, that's right. Next, we also have yung mobile commerce. So, is the buying and selling of goods through wireless technology. Okay? A certain delivery over wireless devices becomes faster, more secure, and scalable. Or, ayun ang ginagamit natin. Mobile commerce for mobile applications. Okay. Of course, we have yung e-commerce in modern business era. So, electronic commerce known as e-commerce occurs daily when sellers and buyers use the internet to conduct business transactions. Okay? So, napakarami na niyan ngayon. Wider audience, of course, that's one of the features. Mas maraming audience talaga ang electronic. Especially ngayon na pandemic, nag-ECQ, nag-MECQ, you don't have choice kundi umorder through Foodpanda, Grab Food, or whatever na meron kayo. Palinis ng aircon, hindi niyo napupuntahan, tatawagan niyo na lang, something. Cost efficiency, that's right. Kasi kapag nandun ka na sa web, wala ka na ibang gagawin to market kundi yung web na lang. Okay, sometimes, yun din tawag natin, sometimes you use Facebook, social networking site to be able for you to prompt or to promote your business. Faster information. So the information superhighway permits speedy exchange, of course, of data across the world, which also means new information is available and faster. So that is a faster information. Enhanced service, of course. E-commerce business applications. So, following are major business application areas where e-commerce is widely used. So, saan ba ginagamit yung e-commerce as business applications? We have sale tapos purchase of goods. Okay, so, eto kita natin to almost every day. Especially sa mga napunta sa mga mall, okay, sa supermarket, okay. We also have yung tinatawag nating real estate market. Okay, punong-puno to sa sa marketplace natin, di ba? Hulugang lupa, pasalo, ano ba tawag to, pre-selling, mga ganun. That's the real estate market. So, we also have yung online banking. Given na yan, online banking. No? We always do the online banking. Delivery of goods, ayan, yung mga different delivery approach that we have. The import and export, of course. The supply chain management. So a supply chain is a set of relationship between a number of companies who have a symbolic relationship with each other. Okay? So parang ano na rin yan, yung sa mga food panda. Ganun. They're related with each other kasi without one of them, of course, they cannot do the supply chain management. Of course, the e-tailing. So e-tailing refers to retailing over the internet. Thus, an e-tailer is B2C business like business that executes a transaction with the final consumer. Okay. So again, e-tailing refers to retailing over the internet or pagtitinda dun sa internet. It's given. Marami na. Live selling, so on and so forth. Of course, we have the e-commerce channels. Ano na ba yung mga e-commerce channels natin? Of course, the commercial channels. Okay. So various companies have set up online information and marketing services that can be accessed by those who have signed up for the services and pay a monthly fee. Okay. We also have the internet. Okay. And that's given or self-explanatory. Next, e-commerce essentials and wait lang wait lang. And procedures. So we have product or service. Okay, so for e-commerce to happen, there should be a product or service that has value for someone who's willing to pay for a price. Okay, so yun yung mga essentials and procedures natin when it comes to procedures. Make sure na meron tayong product or meron tayong service. Okay? Next, we have yung processing mechanism. Of course, we cannot do the e-commerce if we don't have the processing mechanism. Paano ba nagpa-process? Paano ba magra-run? Paano ba yung procedures sa e-commerce na yan? Of course, the payment gateway. Ano ba gagamitin natin? Gagamit tayong GCash, cash on delivery, uh, plastic money, mobile payment, online banking. Depende yan sa'yo. Of course, the delivery of product. How are we going to deliver the product? Uh, sagot mo ba? Sagot ba ng consumer? Papadala mo ba through LBC? Meron ka bang ka-tie up na pwede mag-deliver ng product mo, so on and so forth. And of course, the after sale service. Okay? So after giving or delivering e-commerce foods, sorry. After delivery of product or services, of course, you must have your after sales. Kasi sometimes din nagkakaproblema. 'Di ba? Ang ganda nung mga binigay sa'yo nung before and during the process tapos after the sales biglang binitawan ka. Kumbaga, okay na 'yon. Nakabenta na tayo, hayaan na natin. That's actually most common sa mga sasakyan. Kapag nakuha na nila yung commission nila, wala na silang pang-sell. Unless kukuha ka ulit or meron ka mai-refer na, "Uy, kukuha ng bagong sasakyan." Of course, the reverse logistics. There's no guarantee of supplying an error-free product. If products get damaged or stop functioning after a while, or wrong products delivered, the e-commerce seller must ensure the flow of products in the reverse direction, known as the reverse logistics, where goods flow from customer to the seller. So, ibig sabihin, kung nakapagpa-deliver ka, tapos napansin naman nila na hindi naman talaga totally working after few months, ganyan. So, be ready na ma-deliver back sa'yo yung product mo. Of course, we have also the e-commerce advantages. Ayan. So we have convenience. So customers can order products or services 24 hours a day, whether they are, wherever they are, sorry. Of course, that's right. Information, ayan, nabigyan na natin yan. Fewer hassles, of course. Hindi ka na pupila, papabili ka na lang. Ano pa? Pagdating naman sa services, wala ka nang gagawin, hintay mo na lang matapos, something like that. Quick adjustment to market conditions by marketers, and lower cost. Siguro, pwede. Pwede rin hindi. Okay? Bakit ba't sinabi natin pwedeng oo, pwedeng hindi? Okay? Kasi mamaya, bibili ka pala. Halimbawa, nasa Binyan ka, bibili ka pala sa Carmona, tapos ganito yung price ng takot ka pa nakakatakot ba magka-COVID, ganyan, or what. So, mas malower yung cost kasi hindi ka nalalabas. Of course, your health is priceless eh. Kaya, kahit na medyo mahal ayos lang. Relatively building. So, online marketers can dialogue with consumers and learn from them, ganyan. Audience sizing. So, online marketers can learn how many people visited their website, how many of them shop at particular places on the site. Or yung mga analytics na meron tayo. So, we also have online marketing, of course. Siyempre, kapag nasa e-commerce ka, that's also an online market. E-commerce through internet and websites can access sensitive information very fast compared to overnight mail and even fax. That's right. Kasi given na yun eh. Kapag nasa e-commerce ka, andyan yung website mo, of course, they just have to view your site and okay na. Unlike na mag-email or magpa-fax pa sa'yo na kailangan ng tao para mag-email sa'yo. E-commerce disadvantages, of course, number one is insecurity. Okay? So security continues to be a problem for online businesses. Kaya nga 'di ba sabi ko sa inyo, kahit na sobrang tagal na ng e-commerce, talagang we have trust issues because of security. So customers have to feel the confidence about the integrity of the payment process before they commit to the purchase. Okay? So, system and data integrity, of course, kahit saan, kahit sa system nyo, okay, you have to check on the integrity of your data and the system. Kasi sometimes, napaprocess niya, pero iba pala yung ginagawa. Or yung iba naman, iba yung ginagawa, pero or let's say, na-process niya, iba yung ginawa, or ginawa niya, pero iba yung na-process. Naintindihan ba? That's why, ang hirap sukatin ng system and data integrity. Kasi, sometimes, kahit sobrang ganda na nung system and data mo, okay, nagkakaroon lang ng problema 1 in 10 years, something na gano'n, 'di ba? And of course, the system scalability, okay? And of course, e-commerce is not free, okay? 'Yan yung una nating isipin. There's a payment for this e-commerce, okay? And customer relations problems, of course. Kapag nagkaroon ka na ng isang problema sa anong tawag dito, sa customer mo, of course, review ko 'yan, hindi maganda yung service, ganito, ganito, ganyan, ganyan. That's actually one of the problems of the e-commerce. Kasi hindi ka na maka-cope up dun eh. Di ba? Hindi mo naman pwedeng burahin yung reviews unless you are the administrator of the site. Okay? So, for your activities or assessment, draw the situation of Philippines now if e-commerce was not introduced in the Philippines. That's actually one of the good activity or assessment na binigay ko. Na ano nga ba yung sitwasyon ng Pilipinas kung yung e-commerce was not introduced in the Philippines? Paano kayo bibili ng pagkain? Actually, dapat yung sa ibang bansa 'to, pero Philippines na lang para at least kita natin. Ano nga ba yung life natin ngayon, pandemic, kung wala tayong e-commerce? Hindi puwede ba kaya tayong hindi lumabas? Something na gano'n. Okay. So we have technology infrastructure of e-commerce. I'll give you 5 minutes break. Okay. So let's continue later. This technology infrastructure for e-commerce. We will be back by 8:37. Okay, while accepting yung iba niyong kaklase.
Okay, sir.
Okay, start na ulit tayo. Okay, everyone. Sino yung mga modular sa inyo? Modular. Maliban kay Kenneth. JD, kailan ipapasa? Popost ko na sa Google Classroom. Don't worry, alam niyo man ako magpapasa. Laging sobra-sobra sa oras. Mga bukas siguro yan. De, biro lang. Mga 1 week siguro. Again, sino yung modular sa inyo? Kasi nagbago na naman eh. Si Pacheca, nag-online na ata si Pacheca. Sino pa yung modular sa inyo? Fernandez. Okay. Sino pa? Si Kenneth ba papasok pa? Ayun, si Kalangan. Simo. Rosemary Simo. Wait lang, no? Matanong ko lang, ha? Online na po ako, sir. Online na daw si Simo. Okay, sorry. Okay na. Tanong lang, kailangan ba nila ng hard copy? Kasi kung kailangan nila, magpapaprint ako. Kung hindi, yung pinasa ko na lang sa Google Classroom yung gamitin nila. Pwede bang malaman yon? Sino president niyo?
Vanilla, sir.
Gerald, Mr. Vanilla, pwede bang patanong sa mga modular kung kailangan nila ng hard copy or soft copy, okay na sa kanila. Kasi
Sige
ganun
po,
din
sir.
naman yung soft copy naman kasi is kung ano naman yung binigay ko dito, yun din naman yung magiging hard copy nila. Tapos kung ano
Sige
yung
po, sir.
questions doon, yun din naman yung questions sa inyo. Okay, sige.
Sige po,
Thank
sir.
you.
Noted po. Thank
Kahit
you po.
ngayon is Tuesday, kahit hanggang Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Pero as early as possible sana kasi kung kailangan talaga kasi nila ng copy, pwede ko nang ipa-print. Okay.
Sige po, sir. Thank you po.
Sige, thank you. Okay, so let's have your technology infrastructure. So after successful completion of this lesson, you should be able to have or known the IT infrastructure evolution plan, specification of workload model, and performance modeling output, cost-benefit analysis of the system, or yung tinatawag nating CBA. So e-commerce is the magic word in the era of web enablement. In this era of internet-driven innovations, a rising number of professionals are engaging in innovative business models and services with their own. Okay, that's why karamihan nga talagang umalis na ng work nila just to have a e-commerce business. Kasi sobrang ganda kasi talaga ng e-commerce ngayon. Of course, it's a risk. Sabi nga nila, if you want to understand the e-commerce, you have to take the risk. Okay? Yung iba nga, ganito ginagawa. Nag-work na halimbawa 5 to 10 years. After that, nakaipon. Lalaro na lang nila sa trade. Okay? Kasi, sobrang ganda kasi talaga. I mean, anong tawag dito? You have to take the risk talaga. Talagang kapag meron. Kapag wala, wala. Okay? But then again, before you go with the e-commerce, you have to understand everything. Okay? Pero may estudyante ako, IT siya. Ewan ko ano yung mga binibenta niya dati na e-commerce. But with the e-commerce, nakabili siya ng sasakyan, gano'n. Tapos, nag-stop na siya ng work niya. Puro e-commerce na lang. But of course, hindi niya pinopost yung niya mismong product o services na binibigay niya. But I think that's product kasi may binibili pa siya. So, in that case, parang anong nangyari? Sobrang ganda kasi Shopee yung puhunan niya, sa Shopee wala ka naman talagang bayad. Ang bayad mo lang is the commission na binibigay mo for the Shopee. Okay. So, if you want to have an e-commerce, this is the time. Tapos, kung anong product o services, that's a really big question na kailangan nyo sagutin. Okay? Tapos, kung ano yung sa tingin nyo kikita talaga kayo. Of course, with your passion. Kasi baka mamaya, you have product pero hindi mo naman passion yung product na yun. Kakamali ka talaga doon. Or hindi mo naman passion services na gusto mong ibigay na ganito, ganyan. Kaka-problema tayo doon. But of course, once na nag-boom ka, diretso talaga. So, this is yung objective of e-commerce infrastructure. So, mission is to design, develop, and maintenance of e-commerce business venture. Okay. Sabi niya, sir, but more on business tayo. Of course, this is the start of e-commerce. We cannot go on thoroughly with your creating website, content management system without having or without knowing the e-commerce or the e-commerce itself. So build an open, scalable infrastructure, develop the right value-added services, and use an effective sustainability model. Okay. So the first objective will be, what are we building? Okay, when we are to create an e-commerce infrastructure, an open, distributed, and safe infrastructure which is scalable and thus has provision for future needs. Okay, so when you're building an e-commerce infrastructure, you have to check on the future. Baka mamaya ito lang. That's why yung iba takot din eh. Especially sa mga food industry ngayon. Yung mga dapat magbubukas na last year, hindi pa rin nagbubukas. Why? Ang hirap mag mag-reach ngayon sa food industry. Sobrang hirap. Kasi ang dami eh. Ang dami magiging problema, ang daming competition. Yung tipong, bakit ako bibili ng cake? Eh, hindi naman yan essential. Ba't ako bibili ng ganito? Hindi naman yan ganito. Di ba? Napakaraming naapektuhan talaga nung pandemic na yan. Eh, sino ba yung mga kumita naman sa pandemic, di ba? Kung iisipin mo, napakarami pero sino-sino ba? Isipin mo yung mga sardinas, instant noodles. Di ba? Ang laki nung kita nila. Bakit? Di ba? Bawat relief goods, andyan sila. Pag may bagyo, andyan sila. Pag ano, andyan sila. Di ba? So in our part, kung ako nga gagawa ng e-commerce, or let's say the product na gagawin for e-commerce, I look for something na pwede talagang pambigay. Yung tipong, okay, eto pwede to. Pwede tong sardinas na to. Pwede tong instant noodles na to. Isipin mo, kunyari, may nagtitinda ng sardines or sardinas na, ano bang tawag dito? 15, ganyan. Gawin mo 14 yun sa'yo. Diba? The people will choose yung mas mura. Kasi if they want to give, of course, maghahanap talaga sila ng mura para mas maraming mabigyan. Hindi dahil yun yung gusto nila, but para yung objective nila makapagbigay ng mas marami. So if you are into e-commerce, you have to check on the future kung ano ba yung product or services na pwede mo. Di ba? Kung gusto mong magtayo ng online selling na ganito, okay, ilan ba yung magiging market na at or ilan ba yung magiging or pwedeng lumapit sa'yo, pumasok sa'yo when it comes to this e-commerce or that business or services na gusto mong i-render. Second objective is how we can use. Okay? So using internet-based technologies to demonstrate the value creation for the users and facilitate the delivery. Okay, so how are you going to use the e-commerce for your business? How are you going to use this infrastructure for your business? Okay. So before you purchase everything for your e-commerce infrastructure, you have to check those questions. And also, who will pay repeatedly? Define the right business model to sustain in the future in the tandem with the IT infrastructure. Okay? So kapag nasa ka-part ka na ng SMEs ka or small medium enterprise ka na, hindi ka na masyado mahihirapan eh kasi ando ka na sa group na 'yon. But who will be your tandem with the IT infrastructure and what model are you going to use? Kasi yung iba, of course, doon, ang alam natin, this is the business, magtitayo kang ganito, this is business. But today or nowadays, iba na yung business. You have to learn. Di ba? Kailangan mong matuto na ito yung model na ginagamit. If you want to, if your goal is a higher goal than the other, of course, you have to check on the different model. Kasi once you are presenting something to the people, of course, kailangan alam mo kung ano yung model na gagamitin mo. Parang sa web development natin, di ba? If you're or web development, if you are creating a system, di ba? Pag pinapresent natin, of course, we have to present it based doon sa alam natin at ano ikakaganda ng system. Kasi ang titingin doon is the IT also. And of course, if you're into business, ang mag-check doon is also the business-minded person. So they understand the model, parang sa atin sa IT. We understand the flowchart, we understand the algorithm, we understand kung ano yung gusto nilang sabihin. So same with this uh, models na meron sa businesses. Okay, so we also have yung software components use. Of course, ano ba yung mga software or components na pwede nating gamitin? Content management system, and web analytics, text analytics, application programming, interface, database server, middlewares, and yan. So if you're into e-commerce, of course, kapag nasa business ka rin also, you have to understand this one. Kahit yung mga basic code. Okay, kailangan natin database server para mag-ganito. Okay, kailangan natin CMS kasi we're not technical. So kung magkakaroon tayo ng e-commerce website, kailangan yung hindi natin kailangan ng technicalities. Yung tipong hindi na tayo mag-hire ng IT to be able for us na mag-cost cutting. Kumbaga, hindi na natin kailangan gumastos ng iba pa just to have a IT programmer or IT na mag-check lagi ng website natin. Pag meron tayong babaguhin sa price, tatawagin pa, ayusin pa niya, ganyan-ganyan. We have to do it on ourselves, something like that. That's why CMS is one of the anong tawag dito? Useful software components when it comes to e-commerce. Kasi without technical knowledge, you can actually use it. Hardware components use, of course, you have to understand kung ano ba yung mga components na gagamitin doon sa system mo. Kasi sabi mo, bakit ang mahal naman nung ganito, ang mahal naman nito. Okay. Kasi di ba lagi naman tanong, ba't ang mahal naman yan? Gaganituin mo na naman. Ba't ang mahal nito? Ganito lang naman yung gagawin. Okay. So, the you have to know the components or the hardware components para mas maintindihan din nila. At ikaw bilang business owner, kung wala kang alam doon, dapat you have to understand also na kailangan. Or else, baka doon pa lang sa plano mo, magkaroon ka na ng problem. That's why, bago ka pumunta sa software, sa paggawa ng infrastructure and paggawa ng lahat, you have to understand everything. You have to check everything. Kasi kapag meron kang nakaligtaan, automatically, bigla ka ma-deprive na, ba't gano'n? Hindi ko alam na ganito pala. Bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? Ang alam ko ganito lang. Yeah. So, let's have yung e-commerce infrastructure overview. So, we have your software components used and hardware components used. Ito yung dalawa. Okay. So, we have content management system for software modules, application programming, database middleware. For analytics, we have web analytics, text analytics, and big data. Okay, big data. And we also have in standards, object-oriented, communication protocols, database, type specification specific. Of course, the hardware components corresponds to the information repository, which is servers, proxy servers, load balancing system, and the IS, the firewalls, encryption devices, interactive voice response units, and other, of course, yung mga nakalagay na dito is kung ano na bang brand yung mga ginagamit natin. So, ito yung mga examples nila. So, middleware systems that resides between the client user and the server, of course. The directory services, the email directory services enables users to locate other users for sending emails. LAN directory service facilities functions like connecting to the web, sharing printers, LAN chats, LAN-based KMS. So, pag sinabi natin directory services, hindi lang yan yung mga list of directory that we have, but also that corresponds to the email, uh, sharing points, printers, LANs, chats, so on and so forth. So mostly this is for communications. So lookup database is database that stores information about network resources, of course, and meta directories. So facilitates the flow of data between one or more directory services and databases. The groupware, the Internet Domain Service or the DNS, yung ginagamit nating server, www dot ganyan. Of course, without using the IP address. Kasi kapag IP address yung ginamit natin, of course, mahirapan tayo. That's why meron tayong mga domain name na ginagamit for domain name service. The flexibility, of course. The ability to respond quickly to changing requirements. Of course, that's really right, no? Kasi kapag sa totoo lang, kapag nasa web tayo, hindi natin masyadong pinoproblema the requirements eh. Magbabago na yung HTML5 to 6, ganyan, ganito, ganyan. But, kapag supported naman siya ng ganito, wala tayong problema. That's why kapag nasa internet ka na, or web yung ginawa mo as a system, wala ka na masyadong babaguhin eh. Unless meron talagang problema when it comes doon sa system flow mo. But when it comes to the requirements, kung ano yung nasa requirements yun eh, hindi nababago yun. Of course, the cost, the scope and performance, IT security and compliance, which actually explained earlier, the reliability and trustworthiness. Of course, di talaga mawawala yun. The service and cloud management. So, ito yung isang factor offered support and functions for controlling, monitoring, and individualization in the web interface. So, pag cloud management, of course, internet-based pa rin siya. Okay? But, this is actually useful. Kasi, ito yung lagi sinasabi sa mga nag-work from home. Ayaw na nila mag-work from home. Yung iba, kasi ganito, ganyan. But actually, work from home is actually one of the best. Ang nagiging problema lang is, sorry, na-disconnect na naman ako. Okay, so criteria for evaluating e-commerce infrastructure and flexibility. Narinig ba ako? Sorry.
Yes po, sir. Narinig ko kayo.
Oof.
Po, sir.
Okay, so criteria.
Nawawala lang po, sir.
Pasensya na, no? Nawala internet connection ko. So, criteria for evaluating e-commerce infrastructure, the flexibility, cost, scope and performance, IT security and compliance, reliability and trustworthiness sa service, and cloud management. So, ito yung mga nandito kanina. Beyond this is another important dimension to deliberate upon the focus on key metrics of e-commerce infrastructure policy. So this could be noted, elaborated as follows. Number one, focus points for web infrastructure strategy. Number one, accessibility, of course. Number one, you have to understand na in e-commerce, the number one focus point is the accessibility. Hindi pwedeng hindi siya. Kasi yung ginagamit nyo should be accessible dapat. Of course, user-centered design and usability. Of course, kung accessible siya, make sure na user-centered design siya. Yung tipong, pag nakita ko pa na, okay, I do understand this one without explaining. Kung meron man, at least onting explanation lang. Internet marketing planning and promotions, information architecture and findability, search engine optimization or SEO. Okay, we already know that. Web standards, persuasion to deliver business results, web analytics, and legal requirements. Actually, ngayon, yung web analytics na yan, dapat after accessibility, nag-web analytics na agad eh. Why? Kasi dun sa mga nag-Shopee, ganyan, kapag kasi halimbawa nakita mo na mas maraming bumibili sa akin sa Region 3, bakit kaya? Tapos you have to ask yourself, bakit kaya mas maraming bumibili sa Region 3? Ba't kaya mas maraming bumibili sa Region 4? Bakit onti lang bumibili sa Region 9? Something na gano'n. So, with the use of web analytics, you can actually check kung bakit. Yung tipong dahil kaya sa shipping fee. Or let's say you can hypothesize or conclude kung ano ba yung mga reason kung bakit hindi pwede. Okay? So, with this one, ayan yung mga numbers, 1 to 9. Okay? Okay, so, sabi dito, the performance of e-commerce site depends on the pattern of service requested by the customers, as described as the customer model. It also depends on the demands that each service place on the site's resources and intensity of which customers arrive at the site. In the view of this, it could be pertinent to focus on the following aspects of e-commerce infrastructure. Number one, or let's say this one, monitoring and reporting on web and other e-business application and response times for web transactions. Okay? Kasi sometimes, kahit sobrang bilis ng internet connection mo, pero yung response times of web transaction mabagal, that will be a... Doon mo na ikaw kay mama. Sorry. Okay, so times for web transaction or response times to web transaction. Kasi ang nangyayari, kahit mabilis nga, yung response time medyo mabagal. Kasi it's either ikaw yung may problem. Kasi ang kinuha mo ang ginawa mo is gusto mo ganito, mas maraming loading, nung pala pwedeng simple lang, ganyan. So doon tayo nagkakaproblema. TCP or IP performance focusing on end-to-end network response times and effects of operational performance control. So as you can see here, dun sa aspects of e-commerce na pwede na tayo mag-focus is talagang laging response time. Bakit? Kasi the faster na mag-response ka, the better. 'Di ba? Especially on the e-commerce. Kung kapag halimbawa ba nag-chat ka ngayon, gusto mo bukas pa sasagutin ng customer service yung question mo. 'Di ba hindi? So, response time talaga. It's not only about the system itself, but also on the different features of your e-commerce. Of course, network routes and equipment focusing on end-to-end route response times. Identify, eto pa, of course, this one is actually useful for a big company. Pero kung ikaw, hindi ka under nito, you focus on the ang tawag dito, aspects na tatama sa'yo. Kasi eto, yung mga network routes and equipment na focusing on end-to-end route response times. This one corresponds doon sa mga ginagamit na ng mga malalaking company. Siguro sa'yo lang talaga dito is yung mga ISP, the router na ginagamit mo. Baka mamaya may router kang ganito pero meron pang a better router na pwede mong gamitin. Other important dimensions include adequate site capacity, scalability, and fault tolerance. Okay? Mga fault tolerance, scalability, and site capacity. Bakit meron tayong site capacity? Eh sir, di ba kahit ilan naman pwede, no? When we say website, hindi lahat kaya niyang i-handle. Di ba? That's why, ano ba tawag dito? Piece of air, di ba, sa Cebu Pacific. Ano nangyayari? Sa sobrang dami, nung nag-a-access ng website, ano nangyayari? Di ba, bigla na lang sila nagme-maintenance or bigla na lang, sorry, hintayin mo yung queue number mo kasi sobrang dami nag-access ng site, we cannot accommodate you, so on and so on. Doon pumapasok yung bandwidth natin kasi sa sobrang dami ng pumapasok doon sa'yo, eh, halimbawa, 2 daanan lang yan, eh, ang dami yung sasakyan, nagsabay-sabay kayo, nagkakaroon ng network traffic. So, hindi kayo lahat ma-access or hindi kayo makukuhaan agad. Kaya, kailangan mo ng waiting time. You have to wait for that. And of course, for your assessment, create your own e-commerce infrastructure policy based on the previous topic. So if you have the infrastructure policy there, you have to create your own ang tawag dito, infrastructure policy. Sorry ako tinataas yung gano'n. Kasi sometimes, pag merong lumababa dito, it's either may nag-chat or may nagpapa-admit. Okay? Mahirap kasi i-center, naka-fix na kasi ito. Okay? So that will be for your topic number 2. Anong tawag dito? Create your own e-commerce infrastructure policy based on previous topic na meron tayo. Of course, we have yung business concept and social issues that we have. So, ano ba to? Okay. So, ethical and legal issues related to e-commerce technology such as manipulation of graphic and sound information, privacy control of electronic media, challenges when making ethical decisions related to e-commerce considering laws, privacy, and security, and regulatory and legal environments as it relates to e-commerce. Ayan. Ayan siya. But of course, we're not going to discuss this one. So, right now, you have your take-home quiz, hit work. But definitely, nung ano naman tayo, sinabi ko naman sa inyo na assessment corresponds to, anong tawag dito? Quizzes or sit work na meron kayo. Okay? So, later, isi-send ko po sa inyo kung saan nyo ipapasa yung assessment 1 and assessment 2 sa Google Classroom. Then, kung hindi ngayon or baka mamaya, bukas, basta i-send ko sa inyo. Tapos yung research na gagawin niyo. Okay? You will have your first research for the midterm and the second research will be on the finals. Kasi alam niyo naman, kasama po talaga yun sa grading system na pinakita ko sa inyo last time na nag-meet tayo. Okay? So, ayun lang for our e-commerce for today. But, of course, hindi naman tayo doon nagtatapos. Ha? Kasi, I have to check something on you. Okay. Since we are actually preparing for our, anong tawag dito? For our e-commerce, okay? For this midterm, we will actually create a website also using CMS, but in a group. Okay? Naka-grouping siya. Sure, bakit groupings? Kasi your midterm will be groupings, tapos yung finals niyo po ay individual. Individual website na po yung gagawin niyo pagdating ng finals. Okay? Sure, bakit po ganun? Kasi the main reason why I choose grouping muna is to be able for you to decide kung para saan ba to, ano ba to, makapag-change kayo ng ideas. Tapos pagdating ng finals, individual na, para at least ma-check ko kung sino ba talaga yung nag-aral or sino ba talaga mismo yung gumawa ng mga website, ganyan. And paano ba kayo nag-collaborate as a group para makapag-create kayo ng ganitong website? Okay, ilang kayo sa klase?
Same number pa rin po, 55 po ata, sir.
55? O 55? Sure na ba yun? 54. Last call.
54 ata.
Mga 54, sir.
54. Wait Kukumpitin ko lang. Ay, wait lang. Kasama ba si Aldrin sa 54?
Hindi, sir.
O, di 55. Si Aldrin Reynaldo, 55. Kung di-divide ko siya sa 4, 13.74. 11. 5 members? Parang ang dami, no? Pag 5 members yung group. Pwede kaya yon?
Pwede na yun, sir.
Pwede na yun, sir.
Pwede na, sir.
O, sige, mga 3 na lang siguro. 55 divided by 3. O, 18. Dami. Okay, pwede na siguro yung 5. Okay, gagawa ko ngayon ng breakout rooms. Pag sinabi natin breakout rooms, you'll be on the room. Tapos, kung sino yung group 5 members na nandoon, sila-sila lang po yung nandoon. Ha? Hindi sila pwedeng dumami, hindi sila pwedeng sumobra or what. Ngayon kasi ilan ba kayo? 43. Okay. 43 kayo, pero pwede kayong kumuha sa mga wala pa, ha? Especially din sa mga modular approach. Ano, parang tipid sa module. Yung mga modular ba daw, pwede sila mag-online? Hindi. I mean, makaka-access ba sila? Halimbawa, meron kayong meetings, ganun. Or hindi. Para at least alam ko kung sasama ko sila. Anyone can answer.
Ano po, sir?
Yung mga modular ba, nakakasama or makakontakt nyo, makakausap nyo for your project? Kasi kung hindi ko na sila isasama dun sa group of 5.
Si Topper ang spokesperson nun eh.
O Topper,
Sir, kapag sa modular po, ang may hirapan po
pwede talaga pag may mic kayo. Nakakondense. Yes, Topper.
mic, sila
Ano ito?
Arnold po, si Kenneth po. May hirapan sila kapag sa online. Kasi po wala po silang device ay yung internet connection.
Nag-work ba si Kenneth ngayon?
Ang alam ko po hindi.
Hindi ata, sir. Wala lang ata siya talagang internet. Ganun.
Hindi. Sige. Ganito na lang. Sige, hindi natin sila sasama sa groupings. Kasi tama naman modular sila. Pero don't worry naman kasi nandun naman lahat yun sa pinapagawa ko. 55 kayo minus Kenneth, minus 1. Sino pa? Si Fernandez kaya. Si Fernandez,
Kalyangan. Sir, nahirapan pata siya.
okay, tatlo lang yung mismong naka-modular. Si Rosemary hindi na, no? So 52. Andito na ba ako?
Opo, sir.
Opo, sir.
Ay, pa ako di-disconnect. Pangalawa na ata ito, no? So 52, ayan, babaguhin ko pa ata. 52, di ba? 4 members na lang tayo per group. Okay? 4 members na lang. Okay, gagawa ko 13 groups lahat. Gawa ko ng breakout rooms, ha? Create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13. Let participants choose room. Gusto nyo ba yon or kayo na, ako na magbibigay? Parang mas maganda kung ako magbibigay, no?
Kaya na lang po, sir.
Ayun na, sir.
Ayan, assign automatically. Create ako. Ayan. Wait bago kayo pumasok. Ba't ganun? Tig-3. Okay. Yun sa 3, naririnig nyo pa ako?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ito yung magkakagrupo, no? Though, nakita nyo na ba? Hindi pa?
Hindi pa
Hindi
po.
pa, di ba? Oh, sa room 1, ito, no? 4. Ito pa lang yung 4 eh. Magtuloy, Janelle, Mariano, Gelaco. Of course, makikita nyo naman mamaya eh. Dun sa mga 3 lang na nandito, pili na lang kayo dun sa mga wala. Okay? Tapos, after nyo mag-usap-usap, okay, kung sinong kukunin nyo, of course, hindi nyo pa naman malalaman eh, kung sino yung mga kukunin nyo. Or dito na siguro para alam ko na rin din. Room 1, ang meron Magtuloy, Janelle, Mariano, Gelaco. Room 2, Mendez, Lumagi, Jacob, Terence. Lakas naman ng copy, Terence. Parang si Yodi lang buhat na buhat. Terence? Andiyan ka pa?
Sir,
Opo,
pag-alam
sir.
mo baso.
Ha?
Baso mo, ulo mo. Opo, sir. Dito pa, sir.
Nawawala ako?
Hindi po, sir. Baka ako yung nawawala, sir.
Okay. Tuble, Tabudlong, Lizano, Roji Amatorio. Ayan, that's room 3. 4 kasi sila. Ito yung 3. Pakinggan mabuti Room 4. Rand Padua, Simo, tapos Zaki. Okay? So, isip na kayo kung sino pang isa nyo, ha? Room 5, Almazan, Hara, Ziguera. Room 6, Magsumbol, Javier, Casbadillo. Room 7,
Sir,
Supendio.
sorry. Narinig ulit.
Room 6, Magsumbol, Javier, Casbadillo.
Thank you po.
Room 7, Supendio, Matukad, Amatorio Rodelio. Room 8, Gieb, Desquitado, Dikdikan. Room 9, Beltran, Tabliso, Ramos. Room 10, Vanilla, Morales, Ronilin. Room 11, Pacheca, Ambas, Lobera. Room 12, Reginaldo, Perez, Orzal. Room 13, Balduesa, Tanduyan, Pumares. Ayan. Ayun lang, yung room 13. Okay? So, magdadagdag pa kayo ng isa nyo, but later na tayo mag-usap kung sino ba yung idadagdag nyo. Okay? Kasi, anong tawag dito? Kasi ang mangyayari kasi is that pagbalik nyo mamaya sa meeting room, you have decided na kung anong gagawin nyo. Okay? So, ganito yan Kapag pasok nyo po ng breakout rooms, I'll give you minutes to come up with an idea kung anong website ba yung gagawin nyo. Okay? Para at least alam ko na yung mga ipapagawa ko sa inyo after that. Tapos, if alam nyo na yung gagawin nyo, okay, babalik tayo afterwards dito sa main meeting room. So, pag nag-leave kayo, you leave the room pero hindi leave the meeting. Okay? Nagkakaintindihan ba tayo doon?
Opo, sir.
Again, you have to come up with an idea kung anong website yung gagawin natin. Ngayon, hindi ko pa, ano tawag dito? Hindi ko naman kino-compulsory na, ano tawag dito? E-commerce website yung gagawin nyo. Kung gusto nyo ng website lang or pure website only, static lang, na website, ba website ng PUP, website ng ganitong school, website ng ganitong business, okay lang. Okay? Kasi papasok yon sa finals pa. Ngayon, website of your own. Halimbawa, photography website, gaming website, okay? Yung pinapanood lagi ni Terence sa gabi, mga anime website, mga ganon. So, kung mga ganon, entertainment website, okay lang. Hindi ko pa ata napasama to si Pacheca. Hindi kasama na si Pacheca. Okay. So, na I'll be opening the room, no? Nagkakaintindihan na po ba? I-open ko na yung rooms, tapos automatically papasok na kayo doon. Tapos, kayo-kayo lang yung magkakausap doon, ha? Okay na?
Yes, sir.
Ready? Okay. So, kung yung mga
Okay
hindi
po
pa
ako, sir.
napapasok doon, hintayin nyo na lang, ha? So, open all the rooms. Join na lang kayo. Pacheka, kanino mo gusto mapunta? Room 1, 2, 3. Room 4 to 13. Mamili ka ng number.
Sir, may ka-group na ako, sir. Yung
Anong-
si Ambas tsaka si Lobrera.
Ambas, Robera?
Oo. Binanggit
Sir.
niyo po kanina. Nagpalit lang po ako kasi ng PC.
Sayang. Anong room ka?
Malalagyan niyo po ba ako?
Anong
sir?
room?
Kalimutan ko kung anong number yun eh. Basta po sila Ambas tsaka Topper. Sorry po, sir.
Room 11. Okay na. Pasok na kayo. Mariano, pasok na. Rogie Amatorio, pasok na. Saki. Rafael. Gerald, room 10. Tabliso. Tabliso, kaninong room ka? Anong room ka?
Group 9 po, sir.
Okay na? Join ka na lang. Anong room mo, Mark? Mariano, anong room mo?
1 po.
Okay na. Pasok ka na sa room mo.
Basahan ngayon.
Di naman, sakto lang. Mabilis
Hindi,
ba?
sir. Nagsabayan lang po.
Mabilis ba, Miss Janelle? Antonio?
Hindi po. Sabihin mo na, Miggy, yung
Ay, sir,
idea natin.
ito na po yung mga ideas po namin.
Ay, hindi, Miggy, wala muna. Pumunta
Okay,
lang
sir.
ako para check yan. Mamaya nyo pa rin naman yung sasubmit yan. Gusto ko lang makapag-usap muna kayo.
Lima.
Kasi
Apat.
yung groupings nyo, hindi naman siya yung groupings na kayo namili. Ako talaga. Okay, sorry, yung Zoom pala.
Opo.
Sige, leave muna ako sa room niya, ha? At least alam ko na meron na kayo idea.
Okay po, sir.
Sige po, sir. Thank you po.
Salamat.
Angas ng website na to.
Oo nga.
Plant and decor.
Medyo.
Ay, hindi ko sir.
Ay, andito na si sir pala.
Hindi, kung may idea na ba kayo sa gagawin nyo? Meron na?
Meron na po. Nag-iisip na po anong product.
Kung meron na rin kayong website na gagawin or what, anong tawag dito? Sa inyo muna, kasi pupunta pa ako sa iba niyong kaklase.
Sige
Okay.
po, sir.
Nagtanong lang ako kasi kung meron na, at least meron na pala. Check ko lang kung sino yung mga tapos natin, di ba? Ha? Sige, leave muna ako sa room niya.
Okay po, sir.
Pagsasayaw. Halimbawa, may gustong magpa-choreo, ganun. Maglalagay tayo ng mga sample ng sayaw ni Ali. Kasi magaling sumayaw si Ali. Eh di gamitin natin sa business, di ba?
Para instructor, no?
Oo, pwede.
May sayaw ka na naman. May mga sayaw ka naman ah. Pwede
Nakita
natin
ko nga.
gamitin yun.
Yes, tama.
Di ba? Millionaire mo.
Oo, yes, tama. Tama, bro. Tama.
Sige ba naman?
Joke lang. Anyway, balikan ko kayo, no? At least may idea na pakala kayo kahit paano dun sa pinag-uusapan niya. Ha? Binivisit ko
Okay,
lang
boss.
bawat room. Sige. Sige, pag-usapan niya na si Ali.
Mag-enjoy yan si Sir eh. Ay na pala si Sir.
Ba't naman ako mag-enjoy? Saan?
Good morning
Sa
po,
dance
sir.
move po ni Zaki.
Si Zaki.
Ano naman?
Okay, good morning. Sige, usap
Yes,
lang
sir.
kayo. May idea na ba kayo sa gagawin niyo?
Sir, paano po yung yung sinasabi niyong magdadagdag ng member?
Mamaya yun. Halimbawa, di ba
Ah.
tatlo lang kayo kasi 4 per group kasi talaga eh. So mamaya nyo pipiliin kung sino yung mga wala pa. Kasi hindi naman natin alam kung sino-sino yung wala pa sa klase natin.
Mamaya din niyo po sasabihin kung sino po yung mga wala.
Yun yung aalamin natin mamaya kung sino-sino yung wala. Okay?
Okay po.
Sige, leave muna ako ng room nyo ha. Usap pa kayo.
Magiging komplikado, mas maraming tayong
Oo, ayun lang.
madadagdagan tayo ng marami dun eh. Gawa nung, di ba, may mga may add to cart pa yun, mga gano'n.
Kung static website lang, lagay lang tayo ng lagay.
Oo.
Sabi naman rin sa
Pero
pwede
kayo,
yun eh.
Mas okay yun.
kaya yun, kaso, syempre, kailangan ng oras nun.
Hindi, parang ano na nga lang, yung vlogging site.
Oo, parang gano'n na lang siguro.
Ayusin na lang natin sa
Morning.
design.
Lalagyan mo
Good
na lang
morning po,
talaga ng price, parang gano'n.
Kung may idea na kayo, balikan ko kayo mamaya. Mamaya leave kayo ng room ha.
Opo,
Punta pa ako
sir.
sa ibang room. Sige. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Mark, anong room mo? Anong room mo, Mark?
13 po.
Okay na, pasok ka na lang. Okay na ba kayo dito? Morning.
Morning, sir.
Okay na yung group nyo? I mean, may napag-usapan na kayo?
Meron na po, sir.
Okay, sige. Leave na ako ng room. At least may idea na kayo sa gagawin.
Sige po. Ay, sir, hindi na namin babanggitin sa'yo.
Hindi na. Doon na lang mamaya sa main room. May idea na kayo sa gagawin nyo? Carlos? Kapag meron na kayo idea, mamaya lalabas kayo sa room, ha? Okay na yun sa inyo, Andre? Carlos? Okay na yun sa inyo?
Yung sa members po.
Hindi, yung idea niya meron na.
Meron naman po.
Okay, sige.
Yung...
Sige, kahit mamaya na. Thank you.
Sige.
Okay na kayo, group nyo? The Vera?
Opo, sir.
Sige, sige. Okay, andito na ba lahat?
Yes po ata, sir.
Okay, ganito na. Okay, since you met your members, okay, ipapasok ko rin sa Google Classroom yung etong ang tawag dito, pag-submit nyo ng title nyo, or sorry, ng website na gagawin nyo, title ng website na gagawin nyo, para saan, okay, why did you choose that website, and ano yung objective nyo on creating that site, and ano yung mga features na ilalagay nyo on that site. Okay? So, it takes time. Di ko alam kung ilang araw yung bibigay ko. Depende siguro kung, check ko muna yung calendar kung ilang mga araw. Ha? Okay na? Nagkakaintindihan
Sir,
po ba tayo?
ilang Yes po,
Isa
sir.
lang. Isa lang yun. Isa
Sir,
lang.
isa lang po. Okay po.
Isang
Okay
title lang ng website. Hindi na yan to approve or hindi. Kasi since this is under your midterm project, basically, tapos by group pa, kahit ano na yung makuha nyo. Kasi wala pa naman specifications.
Okay po, sir.
Unless sa finals. Kasi
Okay.
sa finals talaga, mamimili talaga ako ng gagawin. Dito, I just want to maximize yung mga makukuha yung module extensions kasi doon naman tayo magpo-focus sa modules and extensions. Okay? Kapag nandun na tayo sa Joomla mismo. Okay, since you have your idea kung anong gagawin nyo, make sure na meron kayong features. Again, pasulat Hindi ko na ulitin mamaya. Features. You also have objectives. And the reason kung bakit yun yung ginawa nyong website. Okay? So I think that will be for today. Can you open your camera please so that we can have screenshot? Thank you.
Salamat po, sir.
Open ako ng mga camera niya. Next time na mag-meet tayo, we are to discuss pa yung pangatlong topic, yung kaninang pinakita ko sa inyo. Then after that, didiretso na tayo sa mismong Joomla na, mismong paggawa na ng site. Again, you have to be present pagdating doon. Kaya nga yung mga modular, kung sakaling meron silang connection or what, at least sana maka-attend sila. Kasi kapag nakuha mo kung paano gawin yung una, wala ka ng problema dun sa iba. Ang kailangan ko lang, makuha nila kung ano man yung gagawin sa una. Especially mga nasa modular. Kung sakaling pwede silang umattend by next meeting, nakaschedule naman yun sa atin kung anong araw, anong date, please lang, baka pwede naman. Kung wala silang pandata, i-text lang nila or i-chat lang nila ako. Okay? Chat ko na lang sila, Vera.
Sir, may tanong po ulit.
Yes.
Sir, clarification lang po. Yung sa modular po ba, hindi po sila kasama sa groupings or pwede po isama?
Actually, hindi na kasi kung ganun yung problem. Gusto ko lang talaga kahit papaano, kung kaya naman talaga nila umattend. Pero kunyari, wala lang data. Ganun. Or kung sakali, wala laptop, pati cellphone. No? Ang akin lang sa is kahit papaano, maka-attend.
Okay po,
Kung
sir.
kaya lang nila, pag hindi, okay lang. Kasi andun din naman yun. I mean, andun din kasi sa module nyo kung paano maglagay ng module, paano maglagay ng extensions, paano magpalit ng template. Lahat yun nandun na. Gusto ko lang makita nila mismo kung paano ba yung ginagawa. Kasi mahirap kasi yung hindi nila mismo alam kung anong gagawin. Though recorded naman yun, iba pa rin kasi kapag nakikita nila personally kung paano ginagawa yung mga dapat natin gawin. Okay? Sige, i-screenshot
Okay.
ko muna to.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay. Let's have your first screenshot. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, and... Okay. Wait lang po. BSIT third year. Mga incoming fourth year. O, isa pa. Second screen. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, and... Okay. Okay. BSIT 3. Okay. I think that will be for today. Thank you so much. And again, next time, hindi ko na sasabihin kung kailan tayo may meet. No? That will be 7:30 every time na meron tayong schedule. So see you on our next meeting and hoping na meron na kayong anong tawag dito? Meron na kayong sum kahit na i-discuss ko uli yung sum. But make sure na meron na kayong sum and other templates na available. Kung wala man kayong templates pa, at least anong tawag dito? Ready na kayo for next meeting. Ayoko nung sir hindi po mag-run yung sum ko. Okay? You have your asynchronous class and synchronous class for that reason. May online class kayo kasi may online class kayo. Hindi kayo nag-online class or meron kayong week na hindi kayo online class kasi to check everything. So, yung week na next week na wala tayong klase na online, make sure na gamitin yun to check all your software. Okay? Para dire-diretso na tayo ng klase natin. Kasi remember that we only have 6 meetings. Ay, hindi pala. Lagpas tayo ng 6 meetings kasi 5-hour class to. But I want you to maximize everything kapag nagawa na. Kasi once na ma-discuss ko na yung mga dapat ko discuss sa CMS, automatically wala na kayo masyadong gagawin. Okay? So after this, popost ko na sa Google Classroom mismo ngayon yung gagawin nyo and kailan yung submission. Okay? So I think that will be for today. Thank you so much. Ingat kayo. Okay.
Sir,
Yes, Pacheka.
yung SAMP po ba, same lang po ba yun sa WAMP?
Yes po. Kahit ako, WAMP lang yung ginagamit ko.
Sige po.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sige. Thank you so much. Ingat kayo, everyone. Ay, wait pala. Alam niyo ba na... wait.